Hi, I'm the Space Quest historian. I still have King Graham in my dungeon, and please have a look at my Patreon if you want to know why. I have a few questions I need to clear up. First and foremost, is Annette Childs alright? What happened to her between King's Quests 2 and 3? Because I've played King's Quest 3 now, and I have a lot of questions, but they all lead back to this central, pivotal question. Now, for those of you just joining us, in my King's Quest 2 video, I noticed that the manual credited the story of that game to one Annette Girth Childs. She used to be the editor of Sierra's newsletter back in the mid-80s, and she wrote manuals and documentation for some of their early games. Today, she's not even a footnote in the Sierra legacy. Everyone seems to have forgotten about her, but she does have a story by credit for King's Quests 2 and 3. In the manuals, by the way, not the games themselves, which just adds to the mystique of the shadowy figure. I mean, who was she? Where did she come from? Why did she leave? Why isn't she remembered? And most importantly, who hurt her? Because King's Quest 3 is not a happy game. If King's Quest 2 was the cheerfully mind-melting psychedelic drug caper of the series, then King's Quest 3 is the heart crash come-down where you wake up miserable and depressed in a pile of your own vomit with no money, a massive headache, and a traffic cone inexplicably stuck up your ass. Now, I am speculating, of course. I don't know Annette, and I don't know what mindset she was in when she came up with this story, but it can't have been a healthy one. Let's have a look at the backstory in the manual. Okay, there's a wizard. He has a silly name.
Phenomena.
That's about the extent of any laughs we're about to have. He lives in a place called Looter. He doesn't like cleaning his own house, so he kidnaps a boy who's only 1 year old and enslaves him to do it for him. And then when the kid is 18 years old and goes, to hell with this, I'm not cleaning this old bastard's house anymore, the wizard fucking kills him. And then goes out and gets another kid. Already, I have so many questions about how a scraggly old wizard takes care of a 1-year-old baby, or how you'd even go about teaching a 1-year-old baby to mop the floor or cook your dinner, but I don't even know where to begin with that. I have a 1-year-old baby. He can't even wipe his own ass, much less the floor. And this goes on for years and years and years. I mean, the manual doesn't specify, but it is heavily implied that we are talking a shitload of kids. This guy just snatches babies left and right, works them to death until they're 18, and then zaps their asses and goes out and gets a fresh one. Sometimes he doesn't even bother waiting 18 years. If they're precocious and caught fiddling around with magic stuff, or stuff he just thinks could potentially be used for magic, like, oh, I don't know, wings of a perfectly normal housefly, he just straight up kills them. This is where your adventure starts. You're the latest servant in this hellhole, being constantly bossed around by this screeching child abuser. You've just turned 17, so your expiration date is almost up. Happy adventuring, motherfucker. Seriously, Annette, please, are you okay? Really? I mean, please, if you're watching this, reach out and tell me you're okay. I know I'm 35 years too late, but I'm really fucking worried about you. Okay, so this dude is a mass-murdering child abductor, and he picked a hell of a place to be one in because no one in the surrounding countryside so much as bats an eye. The people of Looter just let him live in this lovely little house atop the cliff with his chickens and his scores of adolescent human slaves. No wonder this place is so fucking empty. Anyone trying to raise a family here would have to be out of their mind. I can see why he settled here. There's no law enforcement, no one's looking out for one another, and everyone apparently stopped giving a shit a long time ago. There's just literally a seaside tavern and a general store. That's it. That's the extent of the thriving economy of this shithole. There's only one other settlement in the whole land, and that's this cottage, owned by 3 anthropomorphic bears who apparently wandered off from the public domain section at the local library and inexplicably settled down here to grow unspecified flowers and congratulate each other on taking lovely walks. They'll only answer the door to tell you to go to hell, and they're somehow able to teleport bowls of porridge onto their dinner table from a great distance. I mean, look at this. I broke into their house. The door was unlocked, so that's on them, really, not me. Table is empty. There's no one home. I go outside. I come back in. Wham! Porridge! Well, mine now, assholes. Oh, and there's also this treehouse that's home to 2 lawless bandits who just run around and steal people's shit. At least we've stopped ragging on little people, so I guess this is a step up from the previous 2 games. But this just goes to show, this whole place is a pile of shit, full of thieves, bears, and child abductors, and you would have to be either fucking crazy or suicidal to want to stay here. Except for these guys, they've got this shit figured out. I don't know what they want with my housefly wings and bear porridge when they've got a purse full of gold coins just sitting out on the table, but hey, 2 can play that game, dickweeds. Yoink! Oh, and fucking Medusa lives out in the nearby desert. Yeah, that Medusa, the snake-haired turn people to stone bitch. Never mind what she's doing out here in the desert. I've long since given up trying to work out why any of these mythological fairy tale creatures keep showing up in these games, but I will say this, the topographics of Looter are fucking bullshit. From the salty air of the seaside wharf, there's nary a hop and a skip through the tiniest of forests before you're lost in an endless desert. That's like half a mile tops, and you can't get out of this desert no matter how hard you try. Once you're here, you'd better pray that you for some reason thought to look inside the wizard's closet and find the magic map. Otherwise, you're just walking dead. And I haven't even gotten to the worst part yet. You think being a human slave for a crotchety old mass murderer would be a drag? And it is, but it gets worse. See, the previous two games left you with all the time in the world to walk around and explore. The only thing standing in your way between you and their windscreen was your stamina against their mountains of bullshit. Not this one. In this game, you're on the clock, and it doesn't stop ticking. It never stops ticking. You are constantly reminded of the passage of time, even if you turn off the fucking ever-present timer in the status bar. The wizard constantly pops up at odd times, sometimes to bark orders at you, sometimes just to smell the back of your head before disappearing again in a cloud of what I can only assume is pure hatred. You can't even go explore the land or do anything useful until the game randomly decides that the wizard goes on a trip or takes a nap. Then you have about half an hour, maybe, in real time I might add, to go and do your thing. And if he comes back or wakes up before you've made it back to home base and hidden your fly wings and other suspicious items under your bed, you're in deep shit. Sometimes you have half an hour, but that's only if the game is feeling generous. Sometimes you have 15 minutes. How do you know how much time you have? You don't! Trial and error, motherfuckers! That's how we do shit down in Looter. I swear, if it wasn't for this debug status screen that tells you exactly how long you have until the wizard comes back or when it's time for his next nap, chances are I would have tossed this game out the fucking window and never looked back. You bring this up by hitting Alt-D or typing rat's ass, and then type in wizard status. This should have been an in-game feature. I don't understand why this had to be guesswork on the player side. Even by 80s game design standards, this is really fucking harsh. You can also use the debugger to send the wizard on one of his trips whenever you want, or just straight up murder him without having to solve any of the puzzles, and that is tempting, but no, we're gonna do this the right way. What you're supposed to do, of course, is to get rid of the wizard before he gets rid of you, and to do that, you need to learn magic. Now, the manual explicitly said that this is what got the other kids in trouble, and we all know what happened to them, but hey, fuck it. If it's a question between being killed on the spot for carrying a pair of housefly wings, or having to spend another day emptying this dude's chamber pot full of lukewarm wizard piss, then I fucking welcome death, thank you very much. You'd think learning magic would at least be fun and adventurous. It isn't. It is, in fact, the absolute worst part of the game. Learning magic is a two-step deal. The first step is gathering all the ingredients. This part sucks. The manual gives you a shopping list of ingredients for these spells. Yes, the manual. There is no in-game list of these items, so if you don't have the manual, you're absolutely screwed. And you have to go and find them in the short half-hour windows you have between when the wizard goes on a trip or goes down for a nap until he gets back or wakes up. Some of these are pretty innocuous, like picking this mistletoe off a tree. Some are a bit more obtuse, like here, where the game will only let you pick up this mud if you're carrying a wooden spoon to put it in. Like, seriously? A spoon? And then there's this shit with the eagle feather. This fucking thing, I swear to God. I have no idea how people worked this out back in the day, but I'm sure some of them are spending their days staring blankly at walls and pissing themselves while being spoon-fed oatmeal by a 24-hour around-the-clock nursing staff. Because you need an eagle feather for one of these spells, and this fucking cretinous shitbird will only appear randomly on some screens of the game. Not all. Just some. This guy in my stream chat, Bilbo, is a King's Quest speedrunner. Yeah, those exist. And he actually looked this shit up. In the game code, there's literally only a 25% chance of it appearing on these screens. It won't show up on any of the others at all. And even when it does appear, there's an additional 50-50 chance he might not drop a feather at all. So even when you know all of this, you're still wasting a bunch of time walking back and forth between screens, hoping that RNGesus will smile upon you and make this asshole appear, and even then, he might still decide to be a dick to you and not give you what you need, while the fucking clock is still ticking away, I might add. This isn't just mean. It's not just cruel, it's not even playfully sadistic. This is borderline psychopathic. This is a degree of callousness that shows a complete and total lack of empathy towards players. Whoever thought this up must have got up one morning and decided they now hate all of humanity, and they are damn well gonna take it out on us somehow. And thus, the goddamn eagle feather puzzle was born. It's not even a puzzle, really. It's just beating your head against a random number generator while you think you're solving a puzzle. You'll try anything. You'll climb onto a rock and grab it. You'll throw something at it. You'll yell at it. Nothing, and I mean nothing, will work. And that's assuming you're even lucky enough to see the goddamn thing in the first place. Because remember, it'll only appear on these certain screens in the game, and it won't appear right away. You might have to wait around for upwards of 25 seconds before it shows up. And if you're just passing through the screens looking for something else to do, you're not going to be on the screen for that long. And why would you? All the time, remember? Tick-tock, tick-tock. This eagle can go fuck itself. And while we're on the subject of bewilderingly mean-spirited moon logic bullshit, this bit with the spider here. You see a giant spider web like this in a Sierra game, you know it's an instant death sentence. Of course it is. And yep, sure enough. Now, ordinarily, you wouldn't think twice about this. It's like that hole in the wall in Space Quest 1. It's just there to fuck with you. You get a chuckle from the animation, and you move on. But no, somehow, you're supposed to figure out that you have to cast a spell that lets you transform into an eagle, then fly into the spider's web, which the game has already taught us is an obvious death sentence. But now that you're an eagle, you suddenly grab the fucking arachnid by its bulbous furry head with your beak and toss it into the fucking sea. Fucking what? Can we get Sir David Attenborough in on this shit? Because I don't think eagles work like that. And how are you supposed to guess that that would work in the first place? Is it because you can also transform into a fly and, you know, spiders eat flies, so you think, hey, I wonder what happens if I turn into an eagle instead? Wait, how fucking out of ideas do you have to be before you try something like that? Oh, and you may be wondering what's hiding inside this cave that was behind the web here. I'll get back to this in a bit. First, let's head back and actually assemble the spells. Because next step is to go down into the wizard's secret wizard laboratory, don't ask, and put this shit together. Now, I said that the gathering of ingredients part sucked, and it does, but at least you were out getting some fresh air. This part, where you actually make the spells, is much, much worse. What this is essentially the typing instructor from hell. The manual gives you a list of steps to go through, and you'd better type them in exactly as stated, or the game will fuck you from all ends of the earth and straight into the afterlife, where it will continue to fuck you for the rest of eternity. Even if you get all the steps right until the last one, when you've done the spell correctly and you just want to put the fucking thing away in a container, it will eat your ass inside out and spit out the bones. Is it a pouch or a leather pouch? Is it an empty jar or an empty large jar? You'd better get it exactly right, because there's no margin for error with this thing. Even if you follow the steps to the letter and make a single typo, you're out. It's like having the teacher from Pink Floyd's The Wall looking over your shoulder while you're trying to enjoy playing a game. You mess up one time and it's... One of the spells you make turns the wizard into a cat, a fate from which apparently there is no return, so he's now a cat forever. Side note, I get the feeling Roberta Williams really hates cats. The wizard already has a cat, which you can kick around, and the game then laughs at this. The game also expects you to grab it and yank out its fur, which it also seems to take some strange delight in. And later you do a spell that lets you understand the language of animals, and if you talk to the cat, he's just a dick to you for no reason at all. And look at this. From what I'm told, this is actually a pretty infamous situation in this game. These stairs lead down to the wizard's lab, and the cat is blocking your way. And if you so much as lightly graze its, frankly unfairly large hitbox, you tumble off the steps and die. If you're super careful, you can edge around it. But again, who has time to be super careful when every second is tick-tock, motherfuck? Well, whoever drew this fucking cliff face sure thinks you have all the time in the world. This is the path that leads down to the countryside of Luder, and it's the adventure game equivalent of a sobriety test. Look at this shit. This pathway is 2 pixels deep. And this fucking boulder right here. You have no way of knowing if you're safe or about to tumble off the side to your death because this huge thing is just blocking your view. And yeah, once you have the magic map, you can just teleport straight into town, but you still have to navigate this shit every goddamn time you want to go back to the house. And then it's even worse because now you can't even see where the fucking path ends. You just have to guess and hope you aren't off by a single pixel. Because if you are, then... I mean, I know Sierra were really proud of their three-dimensional foreground-background object thing, but this game just goes fucking overboard. I mean, look at this. Where the fuck am I supposed to go? Are these rocks blocking my path? Or can I go through? I can go through them! God damn, simmer down, guys. Jesus. Hey, now that we're down here, let's check back in with the spider cave, because we've been fucking around with this wizard shit for nearly an hour, and I was following a goddamn walkthrough, by the way. I think it's time we had a plot dump. Inside the cave, you find a glowing Technicolor orb and a person, whom the game describes as the Oracle.
Take a cookie.
And this oracle tells you that, surprise, you're actually Prince Alexander of Daventry, son of King Graham and Queen/Royal Broodmare Valinus. And why are you hanging out here anyway? You have a twin sister, Princess Rosella, and she's about to be fed to a dragon. Get your ass moving, you lazy fuck. This is a lot of shit to dump on a 17-year-old kid who's just escaped a lifetime of slavery. And let's not start asking questions about what the hell an oracle and their giant CCTV disco ball is doing in a small cave guarded by a big-ass spider. No, we have a boat to catch. Fast forward 15 minutes, Alexander, the fucking imbecile, has just handed over the rest of his bandit gold to a bunch of pirates who promptly repay him by stealing the rest of his shit and throwing him in the hold. It was around this time in the game that I started to realize that Alexander's just a fucking idiot. I had my suspicions back at the bandit hideout when he just would not get on or off this ladder like a normal person, but now I'm actually convinced. Here, see this crate? It would make sense to climb on top of it, wouldn't it? No. The game expects you to jump. It flat out tells you to jump. Climbing is for suckers. Fucking jump. Actually, let me just go back to that ladder for a second. You're probably watching this footage and thinking, oh, this is just sad. That Space Quest historian douchebag can't even work the controls of a 35-year-old game. And yeah, that's partly true, yes, but there's also something happening here that you can't see. Now, try to stay with me here. There's auto-climbing in this game. If you go near a ladder, Alex will automatically latch onto it, and then your movement keys now control him on his way up or down the ladder. Well, in theory at least. You have to be pretty pixel-perfect spot on for it to work, because otherwise he just throws himself off the nearest edge. But once you're on a ladder, he can also move sideways to step off of it, or more times than not, fall to his death, or at least a mild concussion. This ladder on the pirate ship is a great way to meet an untimely death, especially if you get all the way up to the crow's nest, only to realize you can't go any further and the game just throws you off the ladder instead. The game is also terribly inconsistent about this. When you get on a ladder, your movement stops. When you get off a ladder, your movement doesn't. Alex just keeps moving in the direction you last pushed, and will happily wander off any edges to his death in that process. Or maybe he does stop. It depends on the ladder. Like here at the top, he keeps going. Down here, he stops. There's no way to tell. The game doesn't tell you this. The manual doesn't tell you this. You just have to realize this by stepping on or off a ladder and immediately falling to your death a few hundred times. And what they did here was try to fix a minor annoyance by somehow making it worse. That minor annoyance being that you have to use precision movement to navigate your character around the screen. Sure, it was kind of a bitch in King's Quest II when you would exit this screen to the north only to have Graham immediately fall headfirst into a giant fucking chasm that he should have spotted a mile away, but at least it was consistent. When you exit a screen, your character keeps walking. And here they're breaking that convention, but in an inconsistent way, and they're forcing you to relearn something you've already committed to muscle memory, that characters move in the direction you tell them unless you tell them to stop. Great job, guys. Anyway, back to the story. All you have to do aboard this pirate ship is to get your ship back, then wait for the ship to dock. Yes, wait. You don't know that you have to wait, you just wait. It occurs to me that Alexander never asked these pirates where they were going either. He just hopped onto the first and best ship he saw. They could be heading anywhere. Didn't the Oracle say he'd better haul ass or a dragon would barbecue his sister? They could be at sea for months for all he knows. And what's he gonna eat, these mice? He can understand the language of animals now. He'd have to listen to them screaming and begging for their lives if he tried. Unless the pirates intended to keep him alive as their sex slave or sell him off at the next port or something. I don't know. And more importantly, neither does Alex here. Luckily, the ship does reach land in a fairly short while, and Alexander immediately leaps off the side of the ship and swims for shore. Again, he has no idea where he'll end up, but okay, at least it's better than starving to death or getting passed around in the pirate hold. After scaling another cliffside, and avoiding a Yeti who will actually fuck you to death, the game outright says this, you arrive at Daventry. Well, isn't that fucking lucky? Daventry has changed a fair bit in the last 17 years, though. Everything's a bit of a mess, the well is all bouldered up, the castle is in disrepair, and there's a very oppressive atmosphere. Rumpelstiltskin has leveled up as far as housing is concerned, but I think the market may have crashed around him. This place is dead and empty, and for the first time I thought, you know what? This is actually pretty awesome. I mean, it sucks for everyone in Daventry, sure, and it is another worrying glimpse into what I can only assume was the frail and gloomy mental state of Annette Childs. Seriously, who hurt you? But this is actually a pretty interesting turn of events. A quarter of a century has passed between the second and third game. Everything was hunky-dory when King Graham returned in the last game. So what went wrong? I mean, this could have been a really interesting exploration where you walked around, you talked to the inhabitants, you learned the secrets and series of events and intrigues that led to the downfall of a once prosperous kingdom, but no, we already know what went wrong. The weirdo in the cave told us a dragon went wrong. And the more you think about that, the more it sort of starts to fall apart. So, let me just see if I get this straight. A dragon came to town, perched itself on top of a mountain, and requires once a year the sacrifice of a young maiden. And everyone just did that. So here's my question. Why didn't anyone try telling this thing to fuck off? There's only one dragon. It's not like there's an army of them. Doesn't King Graham have knights? Or an army? Didn't he used to be a knight? In fact, didn't he already tussle with a dragon in the first game? He has dragon fighting experience. How might he get off his ass and do something about it? You'd think at least by the time the dragon demanded his only fucking daughter as sacrifice, he would have finally nutted up and at least given it a shot. But no, instead he and Queen Valinus have now locked themselves in the castle and let their kingdom go to shit once again. Parents of the fucking year. And let's not forget, 17 years ago, he let this fucking asshole of a wizard snatch his only son from under his nose, and as far as we can tell, hasn't done shit to find him and bring him back. And Graham has had his share of encounters with asshole wizards. You'd think he'd at least have some sort of security against people just teleporting into your castle and stealing your baby, but no. Instead, he's just bolted himself in his throne room with his wife and decided to see if sulking a lot will somehow make everything better. Graham is just a fucking piece of shit. And Alexander here can claw and bang on the doors as much as he wants to. No one is letting him in, not even for a pep talk and a hello son, it's good to see you after 17 years. No, instead it's off you fuck, go slay the dragon, then maybe we'll talk. So you go up the mountain, turn yourself invisible so the dragon won't notice you, and because you haven't actually got any offensive spells, decide to call on a thunderstorm to take him out. Never mind the fact that your fucking sister's over there tied to a fucking lightning rod. She somehow fails to catch 300 million volts to the face and catch fire, and the dragon is now dead. I have about a million questions at this point about why that worked, or how no one has ever thought to do anything remotely similar in the last quarter of a century, but I'm too fucking angry at King Graham and every other useless cunt in this kingdom, I can't even think straight. Alex unties his sister Rosella here, who is understandably a bit taken aback by all of this, so naturally we try to explain the situation to her, and she suggests we drop Trow and show her a birthmark on her ass, which we then do. Oh, what the fuck, game? I'm at a loss here. Can this get any worse? I mean, we've just suffered through hours of the laziest, most depressing storytelling in gaming history, coupled with the most insidious, infuriating timer puzzles, whose solutions rely on an infernal combination of random number generators and the sort of thinking only a serious head injury can supply. And now we're mooning our sister on top of a mountain next to a dead lizard. Is there any possible way this universe could somehow conspire against all odds and somehow make this any way? Yeah, this is so much worse. Thank you. If you look at Rosella, Alexander, and I swear this is true, gives her sister the elevator stare, checks out her body, and springs the biggest fucking incest boner the realm has ever seen. First of all, fucking priorities, man. You just escaped 17 years of slavery, almost got passed around as pirate booty, and scaled a fucking mountain, which I skipped over, but believe me, this part is just as fucking bullshit as it looks. Only to find your own country a dilapidated shithole, and a dragon is about to eat your sister alive, and this is where your mind is. And I didn't think I could get any angrier than this, but now we have to escort Princess Rosella back to the castle, and she doesn't appear to be the brightest shining star in the night sky either. I mean, seriously, sis. Come on, what the hell are you doing? There's stairs, come on, they go down. Come on, you can do it. You can do it, over here. Oh, fucking hell. Okay, we made it down the stairs, we just have a little more way to go, and as sis, you're kind of in my way here. Can you scoot? Because I can't get past this rock here, and you're kind of blocking my... But just fucking move, please! God, I know this is 1986, but this is just wild. Here, check this out. If I walk behind this little black tree stump here, her pathfinding code just freaks out and has an absolute meltdown. The game is telling her to follow Alex wherever he goes, but if he stands behind an obstacle that's just a little too wide, she gets stuck in this infinite loop, running around in stupid little fart circles around this tree stump like a chicken with its head cut off. I'm actually kind of enjoying this. Finally, I'm the one causing the game pain instead of the other way around. In fact, I could watch it struggle endlessly and never succeed all day, but we've got to get a move on, son. There's home! Your sister cries in what I can only assume is the most appalling Valley Girl accent, because she follows it up with, Mom and Dad will be so happy! Like she's a stereotypical 80s sitcom girl who just got one of those, oh my god, he didn't, phone calls. You make it back to the castle and your two negligent asshole parents give you all big hugs. I don't know about you, but if I were Alexander, I would be mad as fucking hell. Your mom even has the fucking gall to ask you, where have you been all these years? As if you just stepped out for a smoke, got lost, and couldn't find your way back for 17 years. I was 1 year old, Mom. Where do you think I fucking went? Listen, I know kids get kidnapped every day and it's a fucking tragedy, but these are the king and queen of the land. Are you telling me no one at least suggested an expedition to go find this kid? These are seriously the worst parents I've ever seen. They let one kid get kidnapped from right under their fucking noses, and they just give the other one away to be eaten alive. If there was any justice to any of this, the townspeople would have called Child Protective Services on these two dick weevils long before the dragon had any shot at them. And then blah blah, Graham goes on about his magic mirror of bullshit, like, shut up, Dad, no one cares. This fucking mirror too, by the way, it had one job, but no. Graham can't keep track of his kid, so the mirror's like, fuck it, I'm done with this shit. You want your kid back, you get off your ass and find him yourself. But now it's suddenly cleared up again because bullshit. And now Mom is saying, oh, now the dragon is dead and our kids are back home. Everything looks like it's gonna be alright. Forgetting, of course, that you've got rocks in the well, a castle that's in the state of disrepair, and a kingdom with a population of exactly one crotchety old dwarf who's over 100 years old. Yeah, good luck restarting the economy with that. But I think it's pretty obvious at this point that the royal family at Daventry don't give a flying rat's ass about anyone other than themselves. As long as they're fine, everyone else can get fucked. And then Graham here decides to toss his adventurer's hat up into the air so one of his kids, one of his two traumatized kids, can catch it and go on more adventures, because it's not like they might just want to curl up with a cup of hot cocoa and settle in for a nap or something. I mean, it's not like they've just been through massive traumatic ordeals or anything. God damn, what is wrong with this family? Anyway, hat spins in the air, game goes game over, fuck it. We already know it's Rosella in the next game. The end. I am so mad at this. Okay, time for the bonus round. Well, according to the Cutting Room Floor website, there isn't actually much of a difference between the first version and later versions of this game. I did, however, play through the Apple II GS version just because I wanted to listen to the improved soundtrack and the digital sound effects. Boy, that Dragonfire sure sounds like someone just broke wind. Anyway, the biggest change between the two versions is the wording of the end screen, where every line has just been slightly rewritten. The meaning stays the same though, they apparently just felt that this bit was in need of a little rewrite. And now please enjoy this unholy cacophony of the ending theme being played on both the Tandy 1000 and Apple II GS sound chips simultaneously. You're welcome. Oh, and we did find this fun little glitch in the Apple II GS version where if you just keep swimming to the right here, Alexander will go into his getting eaten by a shark animation and start flopping around on the ground like he's sinking into moving quicksand. And we actually made it all the way up to the mountain to the end where you're supposed to change into an eagle again, but since the game thinks you're still drowning, it won't let you do it. Which is a shame, because I was hoping I could show you the ending of the game with Alexander drowning in the throne room carpet, but sorry, this is as close to the ending as we can get. Final thoughts? I don't know why I keep thinking I need to do final thoughts. This is not a review. I'm not even being remotely objective or fair about any of this, and that should be pretty much obvious by now. I will say this, though. This was the worst game in the series so far. It's like they took everything about the first two games that I may have liked, threw it out of the window, and put in a timer instead. And compared to the other two, this game world feels cramped and compacted. You can only go literally 4 screens in any given direction before it either starts looping on you or you get lost in the fucking desert. The other games were sprawling in comparison. And they somehow managed to make spellcasting, the one thing you'd think would at least be mildly interesting, the most boring, stressful part of the game. But the worst thing is the story. No, wait, I take that back. The worst thing is still the spellcasting. But the fucking story, I mean, It had a lot going for it. I was almost interested at some points. The idea of going back to Daventry and finding it in ruins nearly had me go, oh, you could do something really cool with this. But then they just threw that away. The whole business with the dragon just feels like a lazy threat thrown in at the last minute. I refuse to believe that a whole goddamn kingdom can't get their shit together for one afternoon to take down a single three-headed dragon. No, instead they just let it eat their virgin daughters. Oh shit, I didn't even mention how fucking backwards that part is. And then they skip town. In fact, now that I think about it, Rosella may have been the last maiden left in the whole kingdom. That was the dragon's last snack. Everyone else is either dead or fucked off. I think instead of sending your kids off on new adventures, Graham, maybe you want to lay off the drugs and start building some anti-dragon fortifications around the kingdom, to assure any new prospective citizens that you're actually going to start taking this monarch shit seriously. Who am I kidding? Graham's a fucking nut job. Valinus has galloping Stockholm syndrome, and their 2 kids are fucking idiots. Anyway, let's see if Rosella at least smartens up a bit in the next adventure. I'm the Space Quest historian, and I'll see you for King's Quest IV, The Perils of Rosella. And until then, around the Chrono Stream. Bye!